All right, here we are back in our 000 web host trusted site. And I love this site for prototyping and learning and potentially building out a portfolio. I might even apply for jobs just through these videos after we create this web portfolio. So I went ahead and clicked on this EXO web portfolio site. And let's jump back into the file manager here. And what we're going to look at today is some PHP, because if you remember what we did last time is we created this beautiful welcome page, and then click to contact our team. We created this forms page. Eventually we'll make a banner. But watch what happens when I click submit. It's looking for an action page.php, and we're also putting this stuff out onto the first name and last name. We're pushing it onto the page, and so I'm going to do a little bit of talking about that. And so if we hit inspect here, you can see in our code here on the form, if we pop this open, that we have a action page.php, we have fname, we have John Doe as the values, and we're able to let people see that. So we're going to address that as well. All right, so let's leave this, let's close this for a second. Let's leave this open. Actually, let's go to our contact form, and let's go here. Now, inside of our public folder, you'll see we have our index. I'm going to make another new folder in here, and I'm just going to call this Style Sheets. And I'm going to hit Create. And there's our Style Sheets folder. So this is where I'm going to put my CSS. And then for now, just for the sake of showing you this thing, because we kind of know how to do file structure, I'm going to make a PHP page. Now, if I double click my index here, you can see that I have a, I'm sorry, let's save and close that. If I double click my contact page here, I have a thing called action page.php, right? Let's try to give this a little bit better name. How about contact? Oops. Let's make sure we're inside of here. Let's make this contact.php. So this is going to be a PHP file that connects to the contact us table or things like that. What I generally do is I'll break my PHP pages up into into specific things that deal with specific databases or specific tables, depending on how advanced it's going to be. So this is kind of like a subsect of it. So it's like kind of if you do C# or Java, it's sort of the same as creating subclasses from a superclass. So I'm going to do contact.php and hit create here. Let's go ahead and open this up. Now we have contact.php. All right, so how do you let the compiler know that you're using PHP? Well, it starts off with this greater than sign, and then a question mark, and then PHP. And all I'm going to echo to the screen is we type the word echo, and what this does is print the information to the screen. And inside of here, what I'm going to write is welcome to my or thank you for contacting us, exclamation point. And I'm going to throw a semicolon at the end here, and I'm going to put a question mark here and close that off. Now I'm going to click save, but I'm not going to click save and close. And I'm going to go to my EXO web portfolio, refresh this, and now when I hit submit, you'll see thank you for contacting us. So now we have a clear connection to our PHP page. So what's really great about this is we now know how to set up our development environment. We know how to create a form, essentially, right? Like I'll get into the exact details because I do a lot of repetitive stuff, which can get boring. And then here we have a index page. So slowly we're actually building out a site from scratch, which is going to be very impressive to potential employers. Let's take a look at, I'm going to save and close that for a second. I'll get more into PHP later. Let's talk about CSS style sheets. Now, I haven't explained how most of this code works anyway, right? I'm going to be jumping around a lot between 3 or 4 languages. And generally, when you go through a program, you'll go through HTML, CSS, then JavaScript and all this stuff. But as we're building, you'll start to notice that there's a lot of repetitive stuff, like the way CSS is actually inserted into a document is only done in two different ways, right? So, so there's a lot of, it seems like it's fast, but it's really not that huge. So let's go into style sheets here. And I make my style sheets in the same name as the page that I want it to affect, right? So for example, I'm going to make a new style sheet in here. I'm going to call it contact underscore or .css. Now, you could, if you're kind of bunching these all into like the same directory for some reason, I don't know why you would do that. You could do contact underscore ss for style sheet, right? Some people do it that way, or they'll just write out style sheet. Honestly, it's up to the organization you're going to work for. So here's my contact.css file. So if I open that up, you can see I wanted to affect my contact CSS. Well, CSS is actually a lot easier than you would think, right? So let's just jump in. We don't know anything about CSS, so let's type in CSS tutorials, right? And all we know is that our buddy told us that CSS is cool and it's used for styling stuff. And then they dropped Ajax and all this other, don't worry about all that other more advanced stuff because they're all derivatives of this stuff that we're looking at. So you could see here we have a CSS example. It says body, it has H1. It's like, okay, what is all of this junk, right? Well, notice this word body here. So I'm going to copy this just from the website. And it says background color light blue, right? So if I go back into my page here and I paste this and I hit save, and then I go back here to my contact our team page, okay, nothing happened, right? So we're like, all right, well, what's going on here? Well, let's read a little bit more. So we go through our introduction. We're like CSS templates. Okay, cool. And as we're clicking through introduction, and then there's a how-to. So we're like, okay, well, what does that mean? It's like, oh, so this is how you put the CSS in the page. Oh, there's this link. What is the type, right? Oh, we're putting a style sheet. That's what we have. And then the type is text CSS and then the name of the style sheet. Okay, well, let's steal this. And I'm going to put that in my header just like they did here. So back in here, let's go ahead and save and close that. And now notice though that what we learned last time is we created a folder. Remember this. And so I'm going to purposely get this wrong so you can see this. But here we made a folder called style sheet. So if I go inside of here and notice, hey, I left out my header. And where does my header go? It goes above the body. All right, so here's the body. I'm going to hit enter here. And let's go ahead and make a head tag and then a closing head tag. I'm going to press enter. And I'm just going to paste that in there just like they did. Now, my style sheet, right, is called, let's save this. And what I like to do too sometimes is I'll duplicate this and I'll have two different tabs going at the same time. So I'll go in here and I'll just have this as my like backup while I'm coding in this one. I want to specify something. This is the poor man don't have fast enough internet to download Visual Studio Code for free or anything like that. Like you could do all of your stuff right in their browser here, which is kind of neat. Not everything, but most of it. So back to what I'm doing. So hypertext reference CSS. So I'll go in here and I'll say, okay, well, I have a folder called style sheets and I named it contact.css. Okay, so let's start off there. So I'm going to put I'm going to type in the folder name, which is style sheets, / and I'm going to delete all of this and I'm going to name it contact.css. Now, I'm going to cut this for a second just to show you. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back into my contact us pages. I'm going to refresh it. Nothing happened. And I did that just to show you that. Let's save this. Oops, save it here. To show you, let's refresh now. You can see it turn blue. Two things. One, you always have to point to the folder in which your CSS is in. And two, you have to refresh in order to get it to work. So what happened? What was that CSS that we were looking at? Well, let's take a look. I'm in this other window. I'm going to go into style sheets and I'm going to double click this. So these 3 lines did the following. It looked for a tag inside of our code called body. Well, let's tear this out and dock this on the side here. Oops, excuse me. It's window right click for those of you who don't know. Window left click, and now I can put them next to each other. So inside of here, I have a tag called body. And within this body, I have a header that says Contact Us Forum, which is this right here. I have my first name label, right? So first name is my label, my last name label. Here's the actual boxes, the input boxes that they're typing into. And it made the background color blue of everything contained inside the body. So you might be like, okay, well, that's cool. Well, what if we had a field underneath the body called footer, right? So let's type in footer. And I'm going to say, and now notice the footer is outside of the body. And in the footer, I write, let's do a heading in footer, right? We have something important to say, and it's welcome to footer. Very important. Okay, so I'm going to hit save, and I'll go back over here. Notice nothing happened, but I go to refresh it. And am I in the contact? Oh, let's redo this. Here we go. Let's see what's going on. All right, let's close this. Sometimes it can be finicky. Let me pause it and log in. All right, I had to get logged back in. I was kicked out. So I'm going to save this again, and I'm going to refresh. So here's my welcome to footer, right? Now, anything contained in the body will be a light blue. Now, what if I went into my CSS? So let's just do that over here. And I change this to body to footer, right? I'm going to save that. Now when I refresh this, notice that the body of my page didn't turn blue, just my footer. So I'll get deeper into, because I'd like to accelerate this a little bit more and get you into cool sliding animations and things like that that's going to impress the first wave of employers when they're looking at your thing. The programmers are going to want to look at your code, the design and the IT team to see it for functionality. Anyway, this video went a little long. I'm going to go ahead and end this here.